In 2025, the world bought around $3 trillion worth of oil. Almost all of it was paid for in a single currency. Not because that currency was the strongest or the most stable, but because of a secret deal made in the Saudi desert back in 1974. That system became known as the Petrodollar, one of the most powerful financial systems most people were never taught about. August 15, 1971. President Richard Nixon went on television and announced, "I have directed Secretary Connally to temporarily suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold." Here's what that really meant. After World War II, the US dollar was tied to gold under something called the Bretton Woods system. Any country holding dollars could basically go to America and say, "We want our gold back." That system made the dollar the most trusted currency in the world. But there was a problem. The United States had started printing way more dollars than it actually had gold to support. Wars, social programs, and Cold War spending were draining money fast. Other countries noticed it too. And one by one they started asking for their gold back. So Nixon shut the system down. From that moment on, the dollar was no longer backed by gold. Now it was backed by one thing only: trust. And at the time, trust was already starting to crack. Then things got even worse. In October 1973, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel. The Yom Kippur War began. The United States responded by heavily supporting Israel with weapons and military aid. In return, Arab oil producers, OPEC, hit America with the strongest weapon they had: oil. Production was cut. An oil embargo was placed on the U.S. oil prices, exploded from around $3 a barrel to nearly $12. Gas stations ran dry. People waited in massive lines for fuel. No gas today became normal, so now America had a dollar with no gold behind it, rising inflation, and the world's most important resource being used like a weapon. The US needed a new plan, a new foundation for the dollar, something the entire world could not live without. That's when Henry Kissinger entered the picture. He went to Saudi Arabia with a proposal. "You are sitting on the largest oil reserves on Earth. That's powerful, but it also means everyone is watching you. So let's make a deal. Sell your oil in US dollars, invest your extra profits into US Treasury bonds, and in return, we will protect you. We'll supply the weapons, we'll secure the oil fields, and anyone thinking about touching Saudi Arabia will have to deal with us first." Saudi Arabia agreed in 1974. Soon after, the rest of OPEC followed. And just like that, any country wanting to buy oil first needed US dollars. That was the birth of the petrodollar system. But the real genius of the system wasn't only that oil was sold in dollars. The important part was what happened to those dollars afterward. The petrodollar system basically worked in 3 stages. First, oil was priced in dollars. That meant every country on Earth needed dollars to buy energy. Japan wanted oil? It needed dollars. Germany wanted oil? Same thing. With one move, the United States created constant global demand for its currency. Second, oil exporting countries suddenly ended up with mountains of dollars. Countries like Saudi Arabia were making billions from oil, but they couldn't spend all that money at home, so the extra dollars flowed right back into America, into US Treasury bonds, American banks, US financial markets. This became known as petrodollar recycling. Third, America used that recycled money to fund itself. The system helped finance government spending, kept demand for US debt high, and helped interest rates stay lower. At the same time, the US military protected oil regions, which kept oil flowing, which kept the dollar system alive. It became a loop. America didn't even need to sell the oil itself. It only needed the world to keep using dollars to buy it. By the 1980s, the machine was running at full power. The dollar made up over 70% of global reserves. US Treasury bonds became some of the safest assets in the world. American financial markets turned into the center of global capital. The US could borrow cheaply, run massive deficits, print money, and push part of the inflation onto the rest of the world. Economists called it an exorbitant privilege. In simple terms, a legal financial advantage no other country had, but the dollar had another powerful weapon: sanctions. Because the dollar isn't just money, it's infrastructure. Global trade, banking, payments, reserves. Huge parts of the world economy run through the dollar system. If a country gets cut off from it, it's almost like being disconnected from the financial internet. and countries that tried to move away from the dollar often ran into serious problems. In 2000, Saddam Hussein announced that Iraq would start selling oil in euros instead of dollars. 3 years later, Iraq was invaded. After Saddam fell, Iraqi oil sales returned to dollars. Muammar Gaddafi proposed a gold-backed African currency called the gold dinar, meant to replace the dollar in African oil trade. In 2011, NATO intervened. Gaddafi was killed, and the project disappeared with him. Venezuela tried another approach. In 2018, Nicolas Maduro launched a crypto project called Petro, designed to bypass the dollar system, but it never really worked. At the same time, US sanctions became even harsher. To be fair, these conflicts were never only about the dollar. Each one had political, military, and regional reasons behind it. But the pattern was hard to ignore. Countries challenging the system often faced massive pressure. For decades, nobody could seriously weaken the dollar system. After Russia invaded Ukraine, the United States froze nearly $300 billion of Russian reserves and removed major Russian banks from the SWIFT payment system. That move shocked the world, because suddenly every country realized something. Your dollars are only truly yours as long as the US allows it. That's when countries slowly started searching for alternatives. China began reducing its US Treasury holdings. Instead, it started buying more gold. Russia and China increased trade, using yuan and rubles. Brazil and China signed trade agreements using their own currencies. India started paying for some Russian oil in rupees. And perhaps most importantly, Saudi Arabia, one of the original pillars of the petrodollar system, openly said it was willing to trade oil in currencies other than the dollar. The numbers started changing too. The dollar's share of global reserves fell from around 72% in 2001 to below 58% today. Central banks around the world are buying gold at record levels. China's yuan now makes up around 2% of global reserves. Still small, but a decade ago it was basically nothing. And there's another problem. The oil era itself may slowly be changing. In 2025, 1 out of every 4 cars sold globally is electric. The less dependent the world becomes on oil, the less dependent it may become on the dollar system built around oil. But one thing is still clear: the petrodollar system is alive. The dollar still dominates global finance. No single currency has truly replaced it. But for the first time in over 50 years, the system is facing real competition. Not one giant rival, thousands of smaller ones. And as the saying goes, ape alone, weak, apes together strong.